What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Lizzie's Figures Toy Review. I'm Rico. I am missing Liz right now, but she would gladly miss this part because I'm going to be talking about my new collection, which is horror comics. And I haven't posted a video in a while because I think from December to now, which is March, I think 13th, I really got back into comics. And to just do a quick backstory, I really wanted to challenge myself in 2025. One thing that I always wanted to do, but I was afraid to do, is write a horror podcast. So as a quick plug-in, I'm currently writing a podcast called Southern Zombies. You can find that on Amazon, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, if I didn't say that already, and wherever else you listen to podcasts. So I'd love for you to check it out. It's called Southern Zombies, and the host, Rico Moore. Give it a listen and give me a feedback. If you like it, give me the 5-star review. So that is a cheap plug-in, but that is something that's redirected to 2025. So I've made 8 episodes, and hopefully if you do decide to listen to them, you can see how hopefully I've improved my voice skills, production, and my confidence. So because of that, I decided I wanted to go back into comics, and I just pick up DC or Marvel because, typically those heroes, it's the same thing. They die, they come back. They die, they come back. You switch new writing team and they renumber the issues and all that kind of stuff. So I really wanted to go to independent comics. And one of the things I remember when I was younger was these EC comics. And picked this one up on Amazon. And it's just, look at the cover. I mean, this is, again, can't remember the exact date, 1930s or something like that. It really appealed to me. If you're not familiar with EC Comics, they were Shock Comics, and the reason why we had a comic code banning a lot of things, gratuitous violence and stuff, murder, grisly, and all that stuff, is because of EC Comics. And so I got this on Amazon, and I really liked it. Just inspire me to see how short stories are written. If you're not familiar, this was a comic that would have 5 or 6 stories. This one in particular, again, this is volume 1 of Shock Stories, and they really were ahead of its time. And like The Neat Job was a class, and actually my wife and we made an audio recording of this story. I think it was great. I don't want to give it away, so it is called The Neat Job. I think it's episode 6 or 7 on the Zombie Podcast. And again, they were very distinct stories. A particular one I liked also was, let me find it, The Guilty. If you can see here, man, they were not afraid to attack racism during this time. And a lot of people, when you read the mails, they also include the mail-in. And a lot of people are like, yay, go for it, man. It's sickening how we still have racism. And some people are like, hey, let's not do that in the comics. So from there, I ventured out and they made various ones. This was called Shock Stories. They made Haunt of Fear. They made Vault of Fear. They made Creep Show, I do believe. And then I soon discovered that EC Comics was back. So I got into Epitaphs from the Abyss, and I think they had issue 4, so I went back and found issue 1. They only had the blank cover, and if you're not familiar with covers or comics, blank covers are pretty cool. Like maybe if you go to a convention and you see an artist of this book, or maybe it doesn't have to be an artist that writes this book, but you can have them do a sketch of a monster, anything like that. And they follow the same vein. They have short stories, and this is introduced by the Grave Digger. Again, this is not exactly in this type. I think these were classic horror, and this is more modern. And if I had to compare, and maybe it's not fair to compare, I love these stories. I give these like a 10, and these maybe an 8.5 or 9, so it's right up there. Again, they have short stories, and they're all entitled. Like this one's called Killer Spec. The next story is Senator, Family Values, and Us versus Us. Usually there's typically 3 to 4 stories. If there's 4 stories, usually maybe one is shorter in length. You see this is page 3 to 11, so about 9 pages, 11:21, 21:29. And there's just various stories, and the art. I love the art because it's different from story to story. You see some violence right here, sorry. And I think a lot of times the story will match the art. And so from there, I want to show you just some of the covers I found too. So I did go to Florida this weekend and I found back issues at another store. And so I just love the art. These are the things I love to hang up also in frames. And I'll show you example one. So here's issue 1. And sometimes I do get variants and they can be expensive, but it can be a lot cheaper than buying action figures. I'm at a point where my action figures are now, the same store right here. Let's say issue 2. I'm at a point where my action figures, I just don't have room. I buy them, they keep them in box and just put them on a shelf or something like that. And with these comics, I can buy like 10 of them and I can put them in a comic book box. So you see here the different art styles. And I'm just gonna, don't want to give too much away because you might want to pick it up. And these are $4.99. So maybe if you're like, hey, toys are too expensive, running out of room. If you're into horror comics, you see the different types of covers, and they have variant covers, and they're so dope. I like them. This one I love so much, I put in a frame, so hopefully the glare is not trying to cover up the glare, but this is awesome right here. She has this like vampire, so it's pretty tough. Hopefully, let me see if I can hide the light, not too much. But again, issue to issue. I think this one had Prohibition. That was one of my favorite ones, and I'll give that one away. So here's another cover. Hope you do enjoy Prohibition. Yeah, this one was pretty cool. I'll give this one away if you want to like what type of story. So you have this barfly, literally and figuratively, this guy right here, who is just very drunk and he's rude, and he notices the bartender has these kegs in the back, and he's like, hey man, why don't you open them? He's like, I think it's not drinkable, and I don't want to make it stink. He's like, insults him and kicks him out. And the drunk's so mad that he waits till the sun goes down and he breaks into the bar because he wants some of that rum, And so he opens it up, and it turns out the barrels were holding vampires. So that's so dope, and so they're glad to be out, and they attack him, everything like that. He's like, hey, come on, leave me alone. I just looking for a drink. And the vampire's like, a drink? If that's all you want, man, we can hook you up. And we're appreciative, you helped us get out of our prison, so we're going to make sure that we'll give you a bargain. And says, you know what, wouldn't you like to live forever and drink forever? And he said, well, put it like that, because he's thinking, okay, I'll I can live forever and drink forever. Doesn't sound half bad. But the catch is that, they turn him, but then they put him in a barrel into the sea. So, like, you're going to live forever, but you're going to be thirsty forever. So, it's one of those clever short stories that they have. And so, here's an example of one that I like both covers. So, this is a variant cover, and they have incentive covers. Sometimes they have, like, maybe to sweeten the deal, they want the company or the comic book store to order, like, 20 or 30 copies. And hey, if you do, for every 10 copies, we'll give you this incentive cover, one for every 10. So, that means they order maybe 10 to 20 copies. So here's a regular. I think they had 3 different covers. I love both covers. I'm not going to buy them all the time because that does get expensive. It's like almost like army building. And so that's Epitaphs of the Abyss. And then they came out with Cruel Kingdom. So this is more horror. In the regular world, I guess you could say, and this is more fantasy world, dragons and kingdoms and stuff like that. So again, same format, you have different stories, and it has to do with, again, sci-fi, fantasy. And I think the first couple I did not really like, and I thought maybe, and here's one I got, again, a incentive cover. And this was about $8, so not too much. I love the old style. This one just came out this week, and I actually did like this book, so it gave me some faith in what they do. And again, you can see the different style of arts, and something, you look at like, oh, that's not like superhero like Jim Lee art or something like that, but when you read the story, they really do tie together. They make a good combination of fitting the art and the story, and you see like some gore in there. So that was Cruel Kingdom. They've only been out for 3 months. Epitaphs of the Abyss have been out for 8 months. And then I was down at a store and I did not realize they came out with Cruel Universe. So this is more sci-fi horror. And so I was on the fence because I was like buying a lot of comics at the store. I spent $80 there. I was only going to pick up the first 2 issues, but I'm like, you know what the heck? I'm not sure if my comic book store has it. So I picked up the complete run so far. And I was at my comic book store today, which is the Deep in Huntsville. Great store. Shout out to the Deep. They said they carried it. It was in back issue, but I never seen it on the wall, you know, for new comics. I liked it. I wasn't really sure because I was half and half of Cruel Kingdom. Cruel Universe, I like the story, the champion. So this is issue 1. You follow these people have been kidnapped in space and they're forced to fight in a, you know, like a Roman gladiator type. And you have this narration and you follow him throughout, telling how, you know, he was kidnapped, he was forced into it, he was stripped of humanity, but he learned to fight throughout. He learned that he became a so he went from worrying about his family, his child, to really liked being a celebrity. People, you know, adored him and they followed him, and he just became, you know, he replaced his family former life into like a gladiator, and he loved it. You know, he loved the glory and honor. And at the end, you see here, he does get killed, and you notice that this dinosaur is there throughout. But it turns out at the end, it was pretty cool that the whole story was about the dinosaur. It was his family and his kids. So throughout, it's sort of like chicanery that they make you think it's about him, but almost every panel, the dinosaur is there. So I like that, you know, little twist to it. There's a simple little take on it, you know. So that is Cruel Universe, and you see the various covers here, and they had options of different covers. I like these that appeal to me. Here's issue 2, and here's issue 4, and the last. I've only read the first 2 issues. I've been catching up a lot of reading. I just got back from vacation. I picked up like 10 different books, and then, dude, they had a one-shot. Shiver suspense stories. I saw this at maybe usually at these books they preview what's coming out the next month, and they highlighted this in one of my back issues. Like, dang it, there's another one I have to cover. But this is a one shot. I have not read it yet. Thankfully, they had 1 copy left at my store, and so I think that's really it. I haven't found one of these that I want to hang up. But that's what I've been doing so far, and hopefully, you know, this is different from action figures. Hopefully you enjoyed this, and I'll try to do more things. I do have some action figures pre-ordered from 5K Toys. If you're familiar with 5K Toys, a lot of those things are overseas, and I have like 3 pre-orders that I ordered. 1 like in 2023 and 2 in 2024. They still haven't came out, so those are like $70 figures, so I really don't want to buy anything. And actually, at the end of this month, March 28th is Toylanta, and not exactly in Atlanta, Georgia, or someplace off, which I just forgot, Duluth, Georgia. So I have not bought any action figures. I pre-ordered a lot, but I have not bought any like brick and mortar store and owned a figure since November. So I look forward to going there. And so yeah, let me know what you thought about these comics. Have you read any of these? Have you thought about reading these? I do have other horror lines. I'll do that in the next video. So I probably won't make a toy video until after Toylanta. And so appreciate any time. Again, if you have the time, please check me out on Amazon Music, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Podcastle. My podcast is Southern Zombies. Also, I'm on Instagram, Southern Zombie Studio, which now I'm teaching myself how to draw, because my goal in about 3 years is to be published horror comics. So yeah, love your support. That way, 3 years from now, you're like, hey, I was with him since day one. That's what I want. All right, peace. Y'all have a good day. Oh yeah, like and subscribe too. And if you know of other people who like horror comics, put that in there. Share it. Now I'm babbling. But yeah, let me know what you're reading. Any other horror comics that you are reading right now? Give me some suggestions. If you want me to read a comic and do a review on it, hit me up.